The Ghost by Robert Harris. Read by Michael Jayston. I am not I. Thou art not he or she. They are not they. Evelyn Waugh, Brideshead Revisited. Chapter 1. Of all the advantages that ghosting offers, one of the greatest must be the opportunity that you get to meet people of interest. Andrew Crofts, Ghostwriting. The moment I heard how McAra died, I should have walked away. I can see that now. I should have said, "Rick, I'm sorry, this isn't for me, I don't like the sound of it," finished my drink and left. But he was such a good storyteller, Rick. I often thought he should have been the writer, and I the literary agent, that once he'd started talking, there was never any question I wouldn't listen, and by the time he had finished, I was hooked. The story, as Rick told it to me over lunch that day, went like this. McAra had caught the last ferry from Woods Hole, Massachusetts, to Martha's Vineyard, 2 Sundays earlier. I worked out afterwards it must have been January the 12th. It was touch and go whether the ferry would sail at all. A gale had been blowing since mid-afternoon, and the last few crossings had been cancelled. But towards 9 o'clock the wind eased slightly, and at 9:45 the master decided it was safe to cast off. The boat was crowded. McAra was lucky to get a space for his car. He parked below decks and then went upstairs to get some air. No one saw him alive again. The crossing to the island usually takes 45 minutes, but on this particular night the weather slowed the voyage considerably. Docking a 200-foot vessel in a 50-knot wind, said Rick, is nobody's idea of fun. It was nearly 11 when the ferry made land at Vineyard Haven, and the cars started up. All except one, a brand-new tan-coloured Ford Escape SUV. The purser made a loudspeaker appeal for the owner to return to his vehicle, as he was blocking the drivers behind him. When he still didn't show, the crew tried the doors, which turned out to be unlocked, and freewheeled the big Ford down to the quayside. Afterwards, they searched the ship with care. Stairwells, bar, toilets, even the lifeboats. Nothing. They called the terminal at Woods Hole to check if anyone had disembarked before the boat sailed, or had perhaps been accidentally left behind. Again, nothing. That was when an official of the Massachusetts Steamship Authority finally contacted the Coast Guard station in Falmouth to report a possible man overboard. A police check on the Ford's license plate revealed it to be registered to one Martin S. Reinhardt of New York City, although Mr. Reinhardt was eventually tracked down to his ranch in California. By now it was about midnight on the East Coast, 9 p.m. on the West. "This is the Marty Reinhardt," I interrupted. "This is he." Reinhardt immediately confirmed over the telephone to the police that the Ford belonged to him. He kept it at his house on Martha's Vineyard for the use of himself and his guests in the summer. He also confirmed that despite the time of year, a group of people were staying there at the moment. He said he would get his assistant to call the house and find out if anyone had borrowed the car. Half an hour later she rang back to say that someone was indeed missing, a person by the name of McAra. There was nothing now that could be done until first light. Not that it mattered. Everyone knew that if a passenger had gone overboard, it would be a search for a corpse. Rick is one of those irritatingly fit Americans in his early 40s, who looks about 19 and does terrible things to his body with bicycles and canoes. He knows that sea. He once spent 2 days paddling a kayak the entire 60 miles round the island. The ferry from Woods Hole plies the strait where Vineyard Sound meets Nantucket Sound, and that is dangerous water. At high tide you can see the force of the currents sucking the huge channel buoys over onto their sides. Rick shook his head. In January, in a gale, in snow, no one could survive more than 5 minutes. A local woman found the body early the next morning, thrown up on the beach about 4 miles down the island's coast at Lambert's Cove. The driver's license in the wallet confirmed him to be Michael James McAra, aged 50.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?